Welcome back. Just this past week, I passed 1 year in the in my auto detailing business. And I've been reflecting a little bit about any lessons that I might have learned. And so I've written a few down. And here are 4 lessons I learned in my first year. The first one is to always make sure your customer knows the price. Sometimes, as a new business owner, it can be difficult to say it's going to cost X amount of dollars because they never asked, and you don't want to just be pushing back. It's going to be a $200 or whatever. And so but then you find at the end you do the service and they don't know how much, and you're kind of thinking, if you're new, you might be thinking, crap, I didn't tell them how much it's gonna cost. What if it's too much? What if they think I'm ripping them off? And you could have avoided all of this if you just told them the price at the beginning. So when I first started, I was working my day job still, and I I had a few days off from work, and so I thought, well, let's go do cars somewhere. And I was this was in the beginning when I was still wanting to practice, but I was also charging people, so my prices were pretty low. And I had my website up and everything. And my wife was babysitting for a family, and she knew they had messy cars, and so I said, hey, will you ask them if I can do their cars? And she said, sure. And so they did. And so I went down, and it was a minivan and then a sedan. And I did it was raining, so I did the minivan in the garage, which didn't have very good lighting. And so it means, and I spent like a few hours on it. I spent a few hours on it, and then made it look a lot better than it obviously was before, because they had like 3 kids. And then I went and did the sedan after. And so afterwards, the parents, the owners came out to look, and the guy was like, can I give you some advice or something? And I was like, sure, you know. And he said, well, look at this spot and this spot. And he pointed out a few things that I missed. And in my opinion, I felt like I missed him because I was in his garage with bad lighting. And so ultimately, it came back to me. And he wasn't mad or anything. But then I went home, and I was a little upset about it because I guess I was just new to the business. Wasn't used to people telling me that they weren't happy or whatever. I'm still not used to it, but at least I can handle it better. And this guy, I asked him for a review, and so I go home, and he leaves me a review, and it's a 4-star review, and I thought, really? And in his review, he just said, did a good job, and I was like, you leave me a 4-star review because of that? Anyways, I felt at this point I didn't even want their money. I just didn't want to talk to them. And these are people that I knew, and they lived in my neighborhood, so it was even weirder. And so, but my wife was like, no, you have to get paid from them, so how much should I request from them on Venmo? And I was just like, I don't know. I thought, they didn't like it. They're not going to want to pay the full price. And so on my website, I had listed, I think it was like $80 per vehicle, which is super low, way too low, like way too low for even what I did. And so, but I had the regular package and then like the cheap package, and then the lady was like, well, it says $40 on the website, so 40 times 2 is 80, because that was my cheap package. And then I was just like, sure, whatever. So I got $80, $40 each. It was probably like $10 an hour. No, it wasn't that. It was probably like 15. Anyways, but the lesson I learned was important. Make sure that people know the price, and that leads into my second point, which is make sure you establish expectations, because no one wants an unhappy customer, and the way you avoid that is by establishing your expectations up front, both yours and your customers' expectations. So you need to talk with them and say, what are you expecting? And in my business, the car cleaning industry, you would say, well, what about this day? And this might not come out. I'll do my best, but I don't want to give any guarantees. That way the person understands. And also at the end, if they say, hey, what about this? And if it's something that can't be done, you can explain to them, look, this can happen because of this. I don't want to damage it, so we're just going to leave it like that. On and on. And so you always have to establish expectations. And this is a rule that I've learned that applies to everything in life, whether it's relationships or whatever. Disappointment comes when your expectations are not met. So next time you're disappointed, ask, what expectation did I have that wasn't met? And then establish that expectation. So whether it's in your business or in your personal life, make sure you establish those expectations. The next thing I learned is that it's so important to keep notes and write everything down. Notes isn't quite the right word, but track all your sales, track all your expenses, especially for tax season. That's going to be so much easier to have. You should have just one bank account that everything goes through, your expenses and your sales, and you want to track all that. I also track a few other things. For example, I track my customers. I have a customer database. I track all my customers and which ones leave me reviews and what I did that might prompt them to leave that review, so that I can know what well, inspire someone to leave a review. So that's another thing. The last thing I learned in my business this year was to not let sales pass me by. I had an experience just a few months ago where I was at a guy's work doing his truck. His coworker said, "Hey, can you do mine?" And I said, "Sure," but then the truck took longer, and then he said, "Hey, what about my other car?" And I said, "Sure, but maybe we ought to just do them both on another day." And he said, "Okay, yeah, I'll call you." And I said, "Okay." And yeah, you already know what happened next. He never got that call. So, but that was 2 cars, so that was probably $300 that I could have had that for, you know, free sales that I never got. And that's not the first time either. I had another guy who said, "What about my headlight restoration?" or something like that. I said, "Yeah, I can come back and do that," and then it just never happened, and that was completely on me. And so I lost out on that opportunity. He probably hired someone else, and I'll probably never see him again. And so the point is, though, in your first year of business, you want to make all the mistakes you can. Or rather, you want to learn all the lessons from your mistakes that you can. Mistakes, obviously, you don't want to make them, but it's better to make them earlier than later. So those are my 4 lessons I've learned. Establish your prices, establish and make sure the customer knows them, establish your expectations, keep detailed logs of all your numbers and that kind of information, and then also be aggressive. Don't let people pass you up. If people say, "I might call you," well, try to get them on the schedule right then. So thanks for watching. If you have any other video suggestions or ideas, let me know in the comments below. Thanks, bye.